All right, call a regular meeting to order. Recording and or broadcast this meeting is being made at the direction of the board, which may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting, although only with one owl this time. So if the quality is lower, we apologize. Start by calling the roll. Steve. Here. Vladimir.
Here.
Shally.
Here.
Jessica.
Here.
I'm also here. The entire board is here. We'll move on to pledge of allegiance. Everyone please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to agenda approval. Would any board members like to provide comment on the agenda? Hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented made by Vladimir, seconded by Shally. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. D4 closed session report. The board unanimously approved settlement agreement 24/25-A. Moving on to D5 superintendent's update.
All right, I have a few things for you. You may or may not have heard in the news that this month, the month of September, is Constitution Month. There's Constitution Day on September 17th, but it's broadened to Constitution Month for the month of September. And it's made to celebrate civic engagement. And our county, Santa Clara County Superior Court, actually has a great opportunity for 5th grade classrooms across our county. And we've had classrooms who've participated the past few months where they have a judge come in to their classroom and talk about civic engagement and what the role of the judiciary branch is as part of our government. So I know we've had several or will be having several judicial visits this month. And I think it's terrific. And it's something every year I get the email from the Superior Court and send it off to the 5th grade team. And they're very excited about having someone come in. So I wanted to let you all know that that's happening. We also, Aaron Green has been in touch with Megan Pearson from our 321 housing project. No, 231. I get it wrong every time. 231 housing project. They are still on track for end of May. Finishing up the project, which is fantastic. It's coming quickly. So she's in the process, Megan and Aaron working together to schedule kind of an admin level, like here's where we are and here's our process. And then in November, we will start reaching out to staffs, which is fantastic, and getting them set up with occupancy for the next school year, which is really terrific. So we're so excited to hear that it's still on track. And we'll let you know more information when we get kind of the details about, I'm sure they will have a lovely ribbon cutting ceremony, some details about the types of rents that our employees would be paying and the savings to be living so close to school, which is terrific. Right now we have Gardner Bullis and Santa Rita up at Walden West. They're the first batch of our 6th graders going up to Walden West this year. It's always one of the best trips for students. They really love it. And so we're excited to continue that tradition with Walden West, and wanted to let you know that we'll have a booth at the farmers market this Thursday. And so we will be out at the farmers market in September, talking with community members. We usually answer questions about registration or programs. We try to reach out when we see little ones driving by in their strollers so that they know about their local public schools. I'm sure we'll have some questions about our facilities master plan and maybe answer some questions about the bond as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my report for the moment.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent calendar. Would any board members like to provide comment on the consent calendar?
I would. I'd like to discuss 5 and 6.
Okay. You want to hold those?
For discussion, yes.
All right. We will pull those for discussion. Anybody else? Okay. You wanted to have those be approved separately or just discussed before we approve?
I think it's probably, I would like to make a motion for each one.
Okay.
So we can do the other ones first.
Okay. So would you like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar aside from those two?
So moved, yeah.
5 and 6, you said, right?
Yeah.
All right. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion made by Vladimir, seconded by Jessica to approve the consent calendar as presented, except for items E5 and E6. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes 5-0. So E5. Do we want a presentation? Do you want details first?
No, I can just talk.
Okay.
The issue I have with both of them is that there's no statement of work.
In the proposals that are attached on the contract that the board is approving tonight, there's a contract. And then exhibit A has detailed scopes of work by both vendors. For example, John Plumbing will be jackhammering around the existing waste and water in a new location. They're going to install a direct area fountain adapter, reroute the plumbing as needed, backfill or concrete, set the previously removed drinking fountain, connect and test, dispose of all debris. Work will be done during normal business hours, prevailing wages applied because it's a public works contract is required to do that. Both of these proposals are part of the Springer Affordable Removal Project. The John Plumbing contract is to reinstall a drinking fountain that was located at the first set of portables that were removed. The students love drinking cold water, so we wanted to make sure they have that drinking fountain reinstalled for them. But we didn't want to have a pedestal drinking fountain installed in the same location. The drinking fountain was also being fed from the very first portable, so as the portables went away, we had to move the drinking fountain closest to the closest water source. And then also drinking fountains have to have a wastewater where the water goes out. If they don't drink it, it has to go down the drain. And so that's what that contract is for. And then the oak alarm, the portables that are housing the technology services staff, great classified staff, Stephanie. Her husband loves the Grateful Dead, by the way. We've had great conversation about the Grateful Dead. But on another note,
Random.
good to have relations with staff, so you can talk about good stuff other than technology. But this classroom was actually room 21. We own that portable. We had to move that portable over as part of this project. And we needed to relocate all of the security alarms because there's technology in that classroom. There's projectors, some of the mobile Chromebook cards and things like that in there. So that's what Oak Alarm is doing. They're our preferred vendor that does all of our security and burglary alarms. And so that's what those two contracts are for. But both contracts do have the scope of work in there.
So if I'm not mistaken, on page 1, like a couple of lines down, there is a line that says statement of work and it's empty.
Okay, well, that looks like a typo, but we can make sure that we
So
do
I'm
that.
happy to move that if that line references appendix A of the as the statement of work, I'm happy to move that to approve those, as long as that line is filled out.
The second for the motion to approve these two with the statement
or
of
just
work
one?
properly included. Is that both of them or just the?
Both of them.
What?
Cheryl, second.
Okay, motion to approve E5 and E6, subject to correction and assurance that the statement of work is properly documented. Made by Vladimir, seconded by Shally. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to F1, Los Altos Teachers Association.
Notice how I knew it was my turn this time. I'm getting better and better. Good to see you guys this evening. I came up because I was actually inspired by my 3-year-old son. I was like, I have to come to this board meeting and share what I've been seeing. So I was trying to get him dressed, and if anybody is trying to get a toddler dressed, it's nearly impossible. And I was like, but we're doing this so we can go to the park. And all of a sudden, he was dressed, like he was way more amenable. And it got me thinking about things that I'm seeing. And again, as you know, I travel as a teacher. I get to see so many teachers and I hear from so many teachers. And something that's so cool that I've noticed as I'm walking around is a lot of why. I don't know if we have any Simon Sinek fans out there, but he wrote this incredible book, The Power of Why. And I went into a sixth grade classroom the other day and they're growing bacteria samples from various areas in their school. So it can inform like which areas maybe you need to clean more, where you need to wash your hands, and like, wow, how would you engage a kid more than something that like, you know, it impacts them every day. And then we had fourth graders writing stories for their buddies about Native Americans. And I mean, this was last year, but these are things we see all over our classrooms, is teachers really digging into like the power of why and teaching our students through that to develop this like really like deep hunger for learning, and also to see how they're gonna apply it later on. Even as a coding teacher, we don't just write code. We go talk to our little buddies, ask them what type of virtual pet they want, and we make them a project that applies to that, right? Like, we really dig into this, and I think it actually goes with the wheel over there and deeper learning, and kind of what we're wanting for our kids is to have like a real foundation of what we do here is going to extend so far beyond these walls. So I just want to share some of that really cool work that's been going on and what our teachers work so hard at doing. It takes so much planning and prep, right, to build a unit around something so authentic. Other things as a teachers association that we're doing, we are working hard to get our members around Measure EE. We're gonna be there on Wednesday to find out more about how we can support that, and also support Jessica, who is not only our LAT candidate, but CTA candidate as well. So, something really.
Thank you. We have anybody from CSEA wanting to speak? No. All right. We'll move on to public comments. I'm not going to read the boilerplate unless anybody really wants me to, given that we have only a couple of people in the audience. So we will move on. Unless there's anybody who wants to provide community comment, we will move on to H1. Professional development.
Well, good evening. I'm stepping in for Mr. Drummond this evening, who could not be here. I'm gonna have some notes that he's left me, and I'm familiar with what's happening. And I thank you so much for bringing up the wheel. Because tonight we're doing a professional development update, and it really centers around the experience we want in LASD for our students. We want them to develop as full people. And so to do that, our goal is to get each of them become writers of their own stories. And when I think about that, I think about the stories we've heard from adults about a mentor or a teacher who is really inspirational, that really helped them along their educational journey. We also hear stories from adults about how they wish they would have had that mentor or educator along the way. We want all of our students to have a positive experience, but we also want them to feel that sense of agency and ability to write their own story. So I'm really proud to bring you an update around our professional development. As you know, last year, we focused on the areas of the wheel about positive developmental relationships. And we talked with teachers and with staff about a positive relationship is great, but a developmental relationship that is positive is exceptional. Creating environments filled with safety and belonging means teachers leverage their relationships with students to push their thinking, to push their learning, to have them take risks, and to model for them what it means to be emotionally well. And so we did this with teaching practical strategies to create those environments in our classrooms. And that teed us up nicely to move this year into what we're calling deeper learning, or really it's just the two areas of the wheel around rich learning experiences and development of skills and mindsets. And so when we talk about deeper learning in our LASD student experience, we're thinking about the term deeper learning from the body of research that informs, you know, our understanding of how kids develop not just knowledge, but also skills, habits, mindsets, and that can go deeper with what they're learning. And so this work gives us in the district some vocabulary to use with our teachers, our staff, and with our parents and our kids. And so this year we're focusing on some principles, 4 of them. Learning through inquiry is an approach where our students are taking an active role in building their knowledge, learning to learn. The key here is really, it's more about them exploring, provoking, active learning. We call this sometimes play-based learning, project-based learning, problem-based learning. So just not that the information sticks, but they have an opportunity to explore and question, and also making learning public. Just having the kids come and present in front of you is one strategy of how they can make their learning public. But what are other opportunities in each of our classrooms for students' work to be celebrated, authentic tasks that they're engaged in, and presenting that, whether it's to parents or to just a visitor to the classroom that asks the question, what are you learning today? And they're not gonna say, we're working on a worksheet, or they can tell us what it is that they're learning and working on. That's our goal for making learning public. And so amplifying student voice, it's sort of what we talked about before. It's where they express their ideas, their opinions, their perspectives in meaningful ways, and it allows them to contribute their voice to the learning environment. So some voice and choice over what they're creating. It's not a one size fits all outcome or product for the kids. And then finally, activating the 6 Cs. We've talked about that a lot. That's always been part of our work with our Portrait of a Learner that came before the wheel. So how are we activating students in terms of collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, citizenship, character, and how are we incorporating that into the work as well? And so as we think about deeper learning implementation, we have 3 PD days, of course. We also have our site weekly collaborations. And then new this year, we're working on monthly cross-school collaboration. So where schools are paired together to dig into the work of deeper learning through collaboration. And so that work has actually already started. We've had our first elementary cross-school collaboration. Junior high has their first one this week on Wednesday. After school at Egan, all of the block and Egan teachers will convene together around the topic of collaboration, deeper learning, designing learning experiences for kids. They'll have an opportunity to meet in departments and talk about what does it look like in the 7th and 8th grade classrooms in the different content areas and courses to amplify student voice, to have learning become public, to have students demonstrate the 6 Cs. So moving forward, there's excitement around the student-centeredness of this work and the approach. I think a lot, our teachers understand the wheel and the experience that we're trying to create for kids. And so by doubling down on each of these areas, I think people feel like it's a student-centered modern learning experience. And just my own learning, coming to our leadership team meetings on Tuesdays, we're digging into the research and looking in the practice and practicing this. So it's an exciting time to be in LASD, and I want to thank Greg for prepping this presentation, and also a bulk of our professional learning for our teachers and for our administrators, Sarah Gerlinger, Grace Choi, everyone in the curriculum office has just dug into this work under Sandra's leadership. I think to make our LASD student experience really powerful for kids. Happy to take any questions, address any comments.
Thank you. Any questions? Any requests for public comment? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Comment.
Well, actually, sorry, it's actually a question. Sorry, sure. If you had a magic wand, poof, what would you do that not, what more would you want to do?
If I had a magic wand, what more would I want to do? Oh my goodness,
Would you have
there's so many
PD
things.
days? Would you have,
Anytime we can get together and collaborate, I love this cross-school collaboration idea because more people in the room with more thoughts and ideas, it's about replicating the bright spots. We have pockets of excellence in every school, across every classroom, and just being able to share what's working for kids so we can replicate that, I think is what we would love to do and have more time to do together. Okay.
What a quote, pocket of excellence. I like that.
I wrote down replicating the bright spot.
All right. Moving on to H2, public hearing, sufficiency of instructional materials. Dr. Bosco, as your name.
Yeah, this is a regular function that we report to the board to certify that all students have sufficient access to instructional materials. So we'd like to ask for your, I believe it's a resolution this evening, for your support.
Great. If anyone would like to provide public comment on this item, please submit a speaker card. I will now open the public hearing. Are there any questions from the board? Any requests for public comment? Any further board comment? Public hearing is now closed. We'll move straight on to resolution 24/25-06 on the same topic. Assuming you have nothing further to add, because it's the same topic. Any requests for public comment? Any further board discussion? Would anyone like to make a motion?
So,
I'll second.
Motion to approve resolution 24/25-06 made by Vladimir, seconded by Shally. Absent any further board discussion, I will call the roll. Steve,
Yes.
Vladimir,
yes,
Shally.
Yes.
Jessica.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to H4, Prop 39.
All right. I wanted to provide you all an overview of the compliance process around Prop 39. It's been a while since we've done this as a district. It's, for me, a new function as part of my job, and we are getting right into it. So I've already learned a lot about it. So Prop 39 was passed in 2000 with the goal making sure that public school facilities are shared fairly. A lot of this is ed code language among all students, including charter school students who reside within district boundaries. The phrase which we've used for a long time, those facilities must be reasonably equivalent. And what does that mean? It means that they're comparable in quality, quantity to other district schools, that they are contiguous, but there's a caveat to that in the next section, that they are similarly furnished and equipped. So all of that falls under Prop 39. The contiguous, if one school site is unable to accommodate the size of the charter school, then contiguous can mean facilities at more than one site. So in our instance right now, we have the charter school across 2 sites because of their size. And something that I included in the last area here is that school districts may charge the charter school a pro rata share of facilities cost once it hits our unrestricted general fund. So we have not had that in the past. I think we're getting close to that now because our developer fees are decreasing. So that's something that we will certainly look at and talk about. So timeline, the charter must let us know their projected enrollment by November 1st, and I'll go through kind of the form that we asked them to complete. In the next month, we come back to them with but we think this is what your ADA will be. In January, then they respond back to that. In February, we provide our first detailed preliminary offer. By March 1st, they respond to that offer. April 1st, we make our final offer, and by May 1st, they choose to accept or decline that offer. So that's kind of how the process rolls out. And so on September 12th, the charter school, Bullis Charter School, had asked for our district form. So we did a few little minor updates to it and cleaned it up a bit. So this is the information that we'll be getting back from them by November 1st. So it includes and I had to learn about what's the difference between total ADA, total in-district ADA. I know those two. Total classroom ADA, and that refers to if you had students who were part of like an independent study program that might not be in person. So that's the difference between in classroom and total, what have you. They will also let us know the names of students that they believe will fill those ADA spots, enrollment spots, any supplemental list of students who may want to enroll their child there that they're including in their ADA, and all the subsequent documentation that goes along with those things. A description of the general location in which they would like to locate themselves across our campuses or across our district. Anything special about their program that might be relevant to their facilities, and then their instructional calendar, which typically mirrors our calendar. And my guess is they probably won't have their instructional calendar. Usually I think it comes after we do ours with the high school. So I'm happy to answer any questions. This is just more of like, it's starting.
Any questions from the board? Any requests for public comment? Any further board discussion? Not seeing any, so thank you.
Yep.
And we will move on to H5, resolution 24/25-07, support of proposition
Do you
2.
want to talk about this, Brian, or would you like?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to talk about this. So as my fellow board members are probably aware, there was a proposition on the ballot in November, proposition 2, placed, I believe, by the legislature. Because as the resolution lays out, the state has run out of money from the previous sort of statewide school facilities bond measures that were authorized. So they're putting another one in front of public. In the state of California, bond measures are really the only way that school facilities are paid for, because there's no other source of funds sufficient for the purpose. Eric, I think, has talked, when we talked about our bond measure, about possible amount of money that we might see out of proposition 2, which is not a huge amount of money, but I still feel like we support education statewide, and therefore it seems appropriate to me to pass a resolution in support of proposition 2. And the statewide effort, especially for districts that don't have the tax base that we do and can't raise as much money locally. So it's my pitch for it. Obviously, I would support, but I'm happy to take comments or questions.
Just a quick question. So from Prop 2, how much would our school district get approximately?
There's 2 buckets of money. One is for modernization, which is like redoing the lights and the HVAC for classrooms, and the other one's for new construction. We shared it back when it was probably approximately about $9 million. We would have to match about 7 for the modernization grant eligibility. And then for new construction, it changes every year, so I wasn't really able to give it like a permanent.
Thanks, Eric. So no, so we still need our bonds, but I'm sure.
Correct,
Point that
yeah.
I'd like to make
It's
to our
It's a
our
matching
public.
grant, so
Yeah.
to get 9 million in state matching the modernization grant, you'd have to match 7. We'd have to offer 7 to get that 9.
Yes.
Eric, that's 7 would come from which fund?
It could come from Measure N, could come from a future bond proceeds as well.
Could it come from the general fund?
That'd be pretty tough in our general fund.
Hmm.
$7 million.
It could come from the general.
It could, but
I mean,
most
theoretically.
districts would never do that.
Okay, yeah.
The
No,
The general fund, we want to have it ready for compensation for its staff.
No.
For sure.
Other questions? Any other comments? Would anyone like to make a motion?
So
Happy to make a motion.
I'll second whoever made the motion.
Vladimir made the motion to adopt resolution 24/25-07, seconded by Shally. Absent any further board discussion, I will call the roll. Jessica,
Yes.
Shally,
Yes.
Vladimir,
Aye.
Steve. I also vote yes. Motion passes 5-0. Gotta keep you on your toes.
Whoa. You're not paying.
Always that.
H6, board policy updates.
Yeah, so tonight we're asking you to, hopefully you've had a chance to review and approve tonight board policy 6158, which is around independent study. So right before school started, they changed the requirements on us around independent study, so that independent study had always been between 3 and 15 days. This change made it that families can request an independent study from 1 to 16 days. So essentially, our board policy is out of whack. CSBA hasn't even given us the updated board policy language, but since we are currently practicing with the updated law, we thought it would be helpful for our board policy right now to just do those simple date changes from 3 days to 1 and 15 to 16 days.
Sounds very reasonable.
Yeah.
Put us forefront.
Oh, yeah.
Sandra, can I ask you a
Yes.
question? I remember there was some chaos around independent study in the wake of COVID. Are we
Sure.
back to sort of the
Well,
pre-COVID state or no?
So it's kind of a mishmash of that. So yes, thank you. Not only did they change the dates, they also added in a COVID-like requirement. So you may not remember. Teachers during COVID, when we were learning remotely, had to fill out timesheets for all of the kind of independent, not directly meeting with students work. So for independent study in the past, 3 to 15 days, families filled out an agreement, teachers assigned work. The day they return from a vacation or an event, they turn in the work, teacher like approves, correct, grades it and approves. Now we have to account for time. So teachers have to account for a minimum of 180 minutes, 3 hours of work for each day of the agreement. And it has to be by assignment essentially. So if you did math for 45 minutes and then I did a reading assignment for 1 hour and 10 minutes and it has to total up. So there is a little bit more paperwork on the back end of teachers. So we've created a tool, especially now that people can request 1 or 2 days, like come to school and say, tomorrow I'd like an independent study. We actually, thank you, CNI team, and perhaps the ISTs created an easy to use kind of menu for 1 or 2 days that could be plug and played by grade level.
Oh, that's good.
And so families have a menu of items to choose from that are good, creative things to do to extend your learning. And then the 3 to 16 days would be more specific to like what's happening in the classroom while I'm gone.
But is it still sort of
But
self-reported? or
it's, so
are
it has
teachers
to
having
be recorded by assignment in minutes.
Right,
And then once it's turned in, teachers have to verify
okay,
that.
but the
and
teachers
sign
don't have to try to get online with kids?
No,
On a
no,
daily basis?
no.
right?
That's beyond the 15-day. Yeah,
Gotcha.
we're not going there. Yeah.
Any other questions? Would anyone like to make a motion?
So
1 second.
Motion to approve board policy 6158 made by Vladimir, seconded by Shally. Absent any further board discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0.
Wonderful, thank you.
Page 7.
Yep, so this is your first read for a variety of new board policy updates. Thank you to Marcy, who is always keeping us on track on the monthly offerings from CSBA. So if you have any questions between now and our next meeting, please send them our way.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I do have some questions about
Okay.
the board policy update. And it has mainly to do with the harassment and sex discrimination. I'll go over with you.
Yep.
My
Great.
comments and my questions, but basically, I think. It's muddled. The definitions of various different things. I'll go with.
Any other comments? No. All right, then we move on to board and administration comments, generally, Dr. Bosco. Good. Charlie,
No,
Jessica.
I toured All Cove.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
How was
did
that?
Yeah, and that was lovely, and it's a resort, it's a wellness space, in a strip mall in, Midtown, Palo Alto. That all of our students, ages 12 through actually 25, they're not our students at that point, but they can all go there for mental health and not pay a cent to use the service. And it was a lovely, lovely experience. It was for about an hour. The space is even designed by the kids that are involved. They have kind of like an advisory group of students. They didn't have a student there, but I heard all about it. And also I went to a AAPI mental health panel at Palo Alto High School, which was also really good. Put together by their student body president, bringing in amazing people to talk about different, ways they've had to deal with mental health, being AAPI themselves, and how to deal with the stigma. There was even a surprise video from Jeremy Lin because he was a Cali grad. And talking about his mental health as a basketball player and how he's had to deal with trying to release the stigma. Anyway, but it was mental health heavy as to what I attended, but I thought they were really good ways to spend my time.
I will just let you all know that I will be out on Friday, taking a vacation day to go visit my son at Washington State. So call me if you need me. Otherwise, we're in great hands with the team here.
Have a good visit.
So I was at the LAF board meeting on Thursday and watched Stella Cam with her CACF hat on, give a nice presentation on that they've been refining for a couple of years now on how school funding works, and recording it and recording some questions from the LAF folks, so that hopefully we can reach out to people who don't get to see the presentation in person, and new parents.
Awesome.
Perhaps anything else? Adjourn.